Hello and welcome. This show helps you to build your company. And I'm your host Petri. In this episode, our guest is Jaakko Villa, who was the first CEO and co-founder of Idean, the Finnish global design company. The company managed to build an impressive client list of global brands and a strong reputation across Europe, Asia, and North America before it was acquired by Capgemini in 2017. There's a lot to cover. Jaakko is a serial entrepreneur who started early with his grandma, his business career in a small farm. And he's no stranger to basketball, motorcycling, or even building online communities. Let's dive in. Why is equality in ownership not a good idea?
Well, if you have equal ownership, everything goes into trash from so many different perspectives. One of the examples is that if you have the general meeting, you have the board of directors, the management team, and the operational team present at the same time. It's if not fully impossible, it's nearly impossible to have anything that is under argumentation to be decided and then moved forward. The roles, everything, it's very difficult to manage the company.
Sounds like you have some personal experience. Can you elaborate?
One of the first companies I was involved with, we had equal shares, 20% each at the time the difficulty started. And I was the CEO for about 7 years. And when we didn't have anything, equal ownership was just okay. But when we had the business booming or growing steadily, sometimes faster, sometimes a little bit slower, difficulty started. And one of the reasons was that as a CEO, I wanted to do some things according to the strategy that we had decided. And I called, I called the management team together and then we decided to do something. But if in the management team, there were opposing opinions or opinions from the owners that they didn't want to do according to what I had decided as a CEO or what we thought was the best from the strategical perspective. They could do it. There were no tools, nothing to guide them or direct them or order them to follow up what has happened with the decisions that we made in the management team meeting. That's one of the issues. And then in general, I would say that in startups and scale-ups, it's always better to have a master's voice, somebody who can make the final decision and who has the final go or no-go decision in different decisions to be made. If it's all too equal, it's very difficult. It's random. It doesn't have a dynamic view to the company's present forward-looking operations.
Is it because of the background of the people, or can it actually work in some instances? For example, if you split the company between two founders, 50-50, and then you start to take investors and other people on, or is it because those founders are in basically all the roles at the same time? They are in the board and they are owners and the shareholder agreement, and it's just basically same stuff? Or is it because of the different background and roles of the people in the company, that some are more involved to the business side and some are into other aspects, and there's sort of a discrepancy between the how understanding and agreement how to grow the company? Or can you be a bit more specific in what circumstances it works, and in your experience as well, what is the setup you would like to do now, knowing everything you know?
I think it is a mixture of everything that you mentioned and probably some other things too. what I would like to have and what I have practiced after that is that there has to be somebody who has always the final say. The final say cannot come from chairman of the board if he owns or she owns as many shares as, let's say, the CEO or the management team. And sort of organizing the operational structure in a company is very, very difficult if you have several owners who own the same amount of shares, and to you face to face they say that okay, let's do this, but they know that they have always the opportunity to do something else if they want.
Did something happen? Because I feel there's more to the story. Can you maybe walk us through a bit of how do you get started with the company? You were there 7 years as a CEO and building the company and making it international, and you managed to put a impressive list of clients, global big companies, and I'm sure there's a lot of stories you could tell us, and probably also something then some turmoil as well.
Yes, definitely. We started the company 99 with the name Suomen Oh Yeah, or we were 4 very novice, how would I say, youngsters without true professions. I was the only one who had already quit the university and had my master thesis done, and I was actually working just the previous 2 years in the Theatre Academy of Finland, the higher education center there. And then one of the 3 other guys called me and asked me to join a meeting in Jyväskylä, the Athens of Finland, to talk about an idea. And they had this how would I say, intriguing and fascinating idea to build a company called Suomen Oh Yeah and start doing educational training, mostly in the Ostrobothnian area of Finland, for the municipalities and local entrepreneurs. And I thought that, hey, this is a crazy enough idea for me to join, because I have always thought that if there's only one thing that you can fully rely on, it is yourself. And with that type of a company, I thought that, we definitely can do something, and it might be fun. And I had been doing training and education in the Theatre Academy, and I knew how to do it, and so I joined them. And actually, in the beginning, in the very first months, we didn't have equal ownership in the company. I had, if I remember, I had 14% or something, and then we started doing the training programs in Ostrobothnia, and we were sort of happy with that, because we gained some customers and we gained better revenues than we thought in the first place. And we decided that we will change the ownership so that every one of us 4 guys had the same amount, 25%, and that's what we did. And soon after, let's say it was 1 year after the founding of the company, one of the founders, one of the co-founders, called Mikko-Pekka, he came with a train from Tampere to Helsinki, and I was waiting for him in the railway station, Helsinki railway station, and he literally had shivering hands and shivering voice. He came to me and said that I had this excellent discussion with a guy I met in a train, and he's from Nokia. He's an executive from Nokia, and we had this fruitful discussion, and he said that maybe in the future we could do something together. And I said to him that to Mikko-Pekka that now call him immediately and try to arrange a meeting, and it was less than a month when we started doing project work for Nokia, and maybe at the end of the first project, maybe 3 months or so, Nokia told us that, hey guys, you have excellent approach in your work, and what you are actually doing is usability testing and usability work. And we didn't even know such a term existed at the time. They asked us to do some research with some users and give them prototypes of new digital mobile services, and that is what we did. And because of our education as teachers, we our approach to the users already at that time was full, and we wanted to understand why they behave, where they come like they do, where do they come from, what are the internal motivations, what they like about what they would like to see in the new prototype service, and we decided to report that to Nokia, and they thought that this is a new approach. It's interesting, it's fruitful. Nowadays, you might call that approach service design or participatory design. There are many names with that nowadays. 20-something years ago, there was no domain for that and no terminology, and we didn't know exactly what we were doing, but it was beneficial for them. Our business started to move from educational training with Suomen Oye for the Ostrobotnian entrepreneurs towards commercial design projects with Nokia, and soon after other customers in the booming digital wave that we had 20 years ago.
We were pretty lucky with the timing. It was 2000. It was booming, and you probably went together with Nokia with the internationalization.
Yes, we did. Yes. One of the learnings that I have is that timing is everything. It means everything. You can have the best idea for your business. You can have the best team to execute anything. You can have the funding. You can have everything. But if the timing fails, your business most likely fails. There's some evidence also supporting that. You probably do remember a guy called Guy Kawasaki. He made research regarding the biggest reasons why startups and scale-ups fail, and surprisingly, the biggest reason is the timing of the business. And we were very lucky. We definitely were very lucky in so many different things. Just let's say the not only timing wise, but also that Mikko-Pekka was in the train. I started talking, sat opposite to a person who was interesting and open to discuss with 23, 24-year young entrepreneurs, and then we decided to take an advantage of that discussion, and our first projects were successful, and yes, we were very lucky. Also after that, we went with Nokia to Singapore 2000, and I might remember this wrong, but I believe it was 2003 or 4. Soon after that, to China in Shanghai 2004 or 5, and then to London, and then we had 2006 when I was still the CEO. We had subsidiaries in all those countries. In Finland, we had Jyväskylä, Tampere, and the headquarters in Espoo. I believe something a bit more than 70 consultants altogether, I believe. And the biggest one reason is the timing and sort of the how would I say, the willingness to utilize the opportunities that come close to you.
But it sounds like that your ownership structure didn't prevent you do those things.
In the beginning, definitely no. When we didn't have anything to share, everyone was together, everyone was united and unified in so many different ways. That's euphoric, it's ecstatic. You see an opportunity, you run towards it, you manage to solve problems and challenges. You can accomplish huge things together with your key team. That was wonderful. Then when you have a little slower growth period and the plans that you have made for fast growth don't really happen as they are supposed to, or you have a lot to share in your company. Let's say you have you can share out some dividends, you can decide what you want to do with your budget, you can have real strategy that is not only reactive, you can predict things and you can decide where you put your focus into. That's when the voices that have been passive during the fast growth because you had so many things to do, or they had been passive because there was nothing to share among the group, then those voices become much louder. When you have more volumes, you can decide where to focus, what are the actions that you will do. I believe it was 2004 or something, we made a very small acquisition of a small design company, and the other owner of the design company became the fifth equal owner of Idean. It was no OEA anymore at that time. It was called Idean.
Can you explain the name?
Yeah, there's a story also behind that, why we changed it.
I don't doubt that. I'm more curious about the story, how it came up in the first place.
Do you mean Suomen OEA?
Yes, indeed.
First, I need to say that how do you call them? They were, I believe there was Yahoo already existing at that time, but there was
the Finnish another one.
Yeah, but Yippee came after us. But soon Yippee and Yahoo and can't remember the other ones who had funny names like that. They didn't give us good karma, if you want to say that. Also, we had some projects in the Midlands of Northern America, and the way how they pronounced "oh yeah" was very close to Ouija. You know, the Spiritism board, and we thought that maybe this is not the best idea to have a company called Oh Yeah from the credibility perspective or from internationalization perspective or from any other perspectives that we could imagine and were discussing about. And it was Risto who then came up with a new name called Idean, and we decided to go with that, and it was much better. It was easier to understand, it was easier to pronounce, it was shorter than Suomen OEA, and yeah, that's the story behind that. OEA, I don't know where it came from in the first place. Maybe it was just something that somebody said in the first meeting that we should have this new company. Oh yeah, and maybe that was the name. Don't remember.
And then you make it national, calling it Finnish Suomen?
Yeah, we had, because the trade register, they didn't accept only Oje as our name. There had to be something else for it to pass the register process. And then we decided that, okay, it's not only Oje, which doesn't actually mean anything. It had to be something else, Suomen Oje.
Before we went to that name issue, did you take any external capital, or did you grow with the cash flow?
Only with the cash flow. Only with the cash flow, or using other words, money from the customers. We were very cheap in everything that we purchased and everything that we did. We flew where we needed to fly at the times with the most cheap tickets possible. We accommodated ourselves in the most cheap motels or hotels possible. Even in the US, I remember that some of the motels I stayed in there were meant for the truckers. I wouldn't go there alone nowadays, by myself or especially with my family. It was only with the customers' money, and as I said, as long as we didn't have a lot to share, we invested everything. Every single euro we received from the customer, we invested it into growth and building the business. And there was the timing again, because there was so many customers, so many projects, so much to gain, both domestically in Finland and internationally, that it was sort of easy decision to invest into growth. But then there was some downturn, and that's when the struggling of the strategical decisions and doing things together started. And this is moving to something else already, but I guess it's okay in this type of free discussion.
Absolutely.
I hired COO, Chief Operating Officer, early 2006, after having discussions with this man maybe half a year already before he joined Idean. And the main idea was that this man, maybe 5 years older than the rest of us, who had been lawyer, who had been taking care of the financials in many companies, who had been responsible for the human resources and all the bureaucracy that I didn't enjoy that much at the time. I thought, and everyone inside the company thought, that this is a good match, and he had been working in Andersen Consulting, and he as at least that is what we thought. He knew how to put more gas in the flames and how to grow us much faster than we had been able to do before him joining us. But it was only a matter of some months when I started to realize that, hey, now the general atmosphere at the office among us owners and the management team has somehow changed. And then 2006, spring 2006, we ended up discussing about what to do, because we had already some millions of euros of revenues, and we could do some from focusing and investing in different things freely with the money from our customers. This guy, this new CEO, he had different ideas of how to grow the company, and he was a great salesman to the rest of the owners. And I think I have not. This is not a true fact, because I haven't discussed this with the rest of the owners. But I believe that he had so different thoughts about the strategy and how to build the company to the next growth phase, that basically he said that we need a different type of a CEO for the company for the next years. That's okay. That's definitely okay. Different personalities. Company needs a different personality CEO in different phases of their growth, and that was okay for me. And I guess August 2006. After several discussions, we decided that okay, let's get a new CEO for the company, and we chose an agency, headhunting agency for that, and started the process with them. And after that, it was maybe only 2 weeks or so when I realized, even though I had initiated the headhunting process, I realized that the process is not a real process, because the rest of the owners had already decided that this COO will be the next CEO to replace me. And when I realized that, I called the general meeting for the company and explained my side of the story and said that, okay, it's okay for me if we change the CEO, I can take a sabbatical leave or so and come back later on. But if this COO, and then I explained what I had felt that he had done during 2006, if he takes my place, I will not work for the company anymore. And after that, I took my sabbatical leave. That was supposed to be 3 months or so, and I had been maybe 3 weeks or so, which of 2 weeks with my 6-year-old son in Tenerife, I believe. I decided that I will never go back to work in that organization because of what the rest of the owners, equal ownership owners, had decided and how they handled the process, and because I thought that the ideas that the CEO I had brought to the company were stupid, to be honest. They were not something that I had any belief in, and they were also somewhat unethical, and I just thought that I have to stick with my ethical principles and still be able to see myself in the mirror every morning, and I have to do something. And then early 2007, I said that, guys, now you can purchase my shares and I will leave the company.
So let me recap. So you recruited a COO, and then the other founders, the other shareholders started to get some ideas that maybe you need to be replaced. How did that make you feel?
Well, when I realized that, I thought that it is something temporarily and goes away, but it didn't. And then I started talking about sharing my thoughts with the rest of the founders, and the dynamics in the founders. We were 5 and had equal ownership, but the dynamics were such that there were sort of 2 more dominating personalities amongst the 5 of us. I was the other one, and then there was other person, and I started discussing with the other person a lot. With the rest of them, some discussions, but with this guy quite a lot, and we ended up into endless discussions about what should be done, what has been done, and as my style in the leader positions is that I don't keep my opinions only to myself. I say them loud, and people know what I think about things, and what I like, what I don't like about them. Of course, in that type of discussions, all the old disagreements, the pain points, everything from the previous 6-7 years started bubbling, first bubbling under, and then came to the surface, and that was terrible time I had, and I believe that we all had terrible time 2006, the second and third quarter, and maybe also the fourth quarter 2006. No one wanted it, but somehow we ended up into fighting, and for me that was of course that was terrible. I thought that the guys had sold their ethical standpoints to a new person who had been there only for a couple of months, and they had somehow forgotten our successful history of building and internationalizing company with only the customers' money. And I thought that was terrible. And even and I also believe that they didn't like about it, but they had made their opinion, and then it was myself and the other dominating guy against each other. And even today, when we met, very, very rarely, but when we meet, we don't invite ourselves to visit our families or homes, which reminds me, again, this is a funny story from maybe 5 years back. One of the founders, I met him in Slush evening meeting, and I believe that he had been drinking a little, and he came to me and hugged. We hugged, and we were happily discussing about how life is great, and it is a pity that we haven't met with our families for so many years, and we should do that. And why don't we invite you to our house, and great to establish the relationship again, and everything. And I thought, okay, this is nice. Now we can fix all the broken relations. And then it was it was funny. The next week, I don't know what type of thing happened there, but I happened to see him giving a speech about what had happened in Idean, what kind of growth story it had. And he was lying to the camera and the audience, the live audience, and the recording about how everything started, and who there were, and he had left me out from everything. And I just couldn't do anything but laugh. But then I sent him an email saying that, hey, we just met the previous week, and we had this great time, 20 minutes, and we decided that we should meet with our families soon again. And now you betrayed at least me in front of the audience. Why do you do this? And he never replied. I think that's sporting for anyone to do. It's not a very courageous thing to do, and I can't see why. But I've also noticed that in quite many stories that have been given about how Idean started, what has happened, and how the success story really built itself, so to speak. They have systematically left me out. I don't care about it anymore, but I feel a little sorry for them, for us, for original, and then the fifth equal owner who were such a unified core team doing everything together, and then something happened, and then one of them, which happened to be me, but I'm afraid it could have been anyone else, then the person is non-existent also from the past times. But I think the story is so good that if they decided, they would have made a good story of it. We had an early CEO who was able to grow the company up to that point. Then we hired a COO, which didn't work so well. They had to actually fire the new CEO almost, about a year after they had hired him first, because his ideas were terrible. They didn't work well at all. But then with the last funding the company had, one of the original founders went to United States and started business there, and then it really boomed everything, and the rest is history. I think it would have been a good story written like that or spoke out like that.
Was there anything, obviously you've been thinking this quite a lot, I would imagine, was there any sort of warning signs? So if there's someone in the audience who's thinking that, okay, hey, I'm the CEO, I've been here like 5 years, 6 years, and is there something I should be worried about?
Yes, a good question. This is where it comes to the equal ownership structure. These type of things cannot happen easily if there is one person, no matter who, if there's one person who has the final say into everything. But if there's intervention coming externally, someone can make a great sales pitch, some smaller group of the owners buys the stories, and the ownership structure allows it, then this kind of things can happen. The warning signs that I noticed were that the COO, whom I thought I knew from the lesser life and from his previous corporations he had worked in, also started to act a little bit differently towards me and towards the rest of the owners quite soon after he had been in the company. And that should be noted, and the air should be cleared immediately when in a management position, in an executive position in the company, you notice that your almost peer person who is in a key position starts acting weirdly. There's always a reason for that, and you should talk about that before things like the processes, like I mentioned, happen.
And like you mentioned in the beginning, you agree that maybe there's a need for a new CEO and you find some other role in the company, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
So that was not the case. So I guess the company was in already 7 years going, and it was okay, we've been achieving quite a lot, so maybe we need some changes and shift gears. And you also mentioned that there was some turmoil and something did not exactly go as planned. So there were probably stuff happening underneath, and just any change is better than no change. And then there was an opportunity which sort of emerged, and this sort of took this shape.
Yes. In the beginning, I couldn't even imagine that they would like to have a new CEO in the company. But when I realized that, it was very difficult for me to swallow the idea that I'm not the best CEO in the company. But after long discussions with myself and the rest of the owners, I just thought that, hey, that can happen, but I need a sabbatical first. And then when I come back, let's see what I can do. I had been responsible for the biggest customer that we had, Nokia, from the beginning, and it was, can't remember what, but I guess that it was even 2006 more than, well, about 50% of total revenues. So I thought that I'm still needed there, and there were things that I could do. So I couldn't imagine it, but when I realized that, I thought that a change in the dynamics, in the roles, is needed, and I was okay with that.
So what happened next? You left.
Yes, I left. I left the building, and later, 2007, I started a company called Solution Space, and in less than 6 months, we opened a branch in Shanghai. I had some network there who were willing to buy our services, which were different from what we had in Idean, and then we 2008 we opened an office in Japan, in Tokyo.
How did you structure the new company? You were the only founder, and did you get some investment money, or how did you get that started?
In the beginning, that was one of the principles that I had, that I will not own less than 50% of a company if I'm the CEO and responsible there. I had 2 other guys who were co-founders with me. They had 20% total, I believe, and I have the 80% in the beginning. And we didn't have any external money before we had our first angel investor coming in. Maybe that was 2008, late 2007 or 2008, and he invested some money, and he had also good connections everywhere, and he came to the board, director of the board, chairman, and everything went quite nice there. We had customers, and we decided to start growing the business.
So what did you exactly did?
Yeah, I even in Idean, I had this idea that there are big companies who especially during those years, they did a lot of market research and user research for the products and services and business and business models and everything internationally, if not globally. And they didn't do that systematically. They had consultants traveling from one location to the next location, doing the interviews, the studies there, and then after that to third, fourth, and fifth location, maybe, before they had gathered all the data from the markets and interviewed all the users they wanted. And after those 2, 3, 4 weeks, they came back, started doing the research report, and maybe 2 months after starting the project, the customer had the report and suggestions and everything. And I thought that could be done differently. And I started building in Solution Space a network of independent agencies in different places who could gather the data in well thought environment, almost like a lab type of environment, and they would have the research subjects, users, consumers ready, and the customers could simultaneously operate the research project at the same time in different locations, so that they could reduce the time, the throughput time of a project from 2 months to 1 week or so. And that's what we started to build in the first place in Solution Space 2007. Then I sold that idea to some customers and started to drafting software that would support that type of data gathering and also the management of the agencies, even from the sourcing perspective and the qualitative aspects were all considered there. Then I went pitching the idea to Nokia, and they thought that's a great idea. They invested some money into software development, and we piloted it in 3 continents, and the results were great. And I thought that, okay, this is a good business. Then I made them an offer for the next years, and they said verbally to me that, yes, this is great, let's do this. But unfortunately, that was the month when Nokia crashed in mobile phones totally. Maybe that was even the month when Stephen Elop had his burning platform speech or the letter for all the people there. And then, even though it was verbally accepted already, the offer, it never realized. So that was sort of a black swan for the business development at the time.
So did you pivot the business or fold it, or what happened?
Yes, I pivoted it after that. First, actually, after realizing that this will not happen with Nokia, I went to all the big mobile phone manufacturers, and I visited them and said that, hey, we have this ready-made software for you for this purpose, and it has this type of data gathering methodology as part of it, implemented it so that you can just take it in use, and you will reduce the amount of time spent in this and this much, and the amount of money with the sourcing elements it had and everything. And they said that, hey, this is a great idea, but we don't follow the same methodology. And they never accepted it, to my disappointment. That is, by the way, one of the learnings that you have asked previously. Do not never trust one single company as your customer too much. Have always backup plans and have something else boiling, or sell it to other companies, other customers at the same time. Because if that one company fails for some reason, external reason, like in that case, Victoros, Nokia mobile phone manufacturing globally crashed, then your business is just part of the damages, collateral damages, if you want.
Recently, when COVID hit, you were also doing a bit of a transformation, and not pivot, but transformation from direct sales to online sales. Can you walk us through how did that go, and was there something for other people to learn?
Yes. To start with, that is, by the way, the same original company that was doing the software for Nokia. I pivoted it after the Nokia crash, and we started doing online communities. It was easy to sort of pivot the business into online communities, because maybe 50% of what we had there in the software were usable for this different purpose. The online communities, where you can ask different stakeholders to join a community, and there you can do innovation or testing or marketing, insight gathering projects together with them, with full interaction methods, and you can analyze everything. We pivoted it into that direction, and we had to We had to rewrite a lot of the code, of course. But then we had quite good business starting about a year ago, early 2020, and we had many big, good companies who were already had or were about to start online communities with our SaaS software. But then the COVID happened, and it became evident that the few big companies that I had been able to make the relationship with the direct sales type of methodology were not enough. Some of them passed the opportunity to start working with us, even though they had already said that yes, let's do this. But when the COVID hit, it hit also the big companies, and they didn't want to start anything new there. So after analyzing what had happened and what COVID or the pandemic does for the sales and for the company, I decided that now we need to change our sales model in full. And we went from direct sales, which had been enough, into digital sales. And I thought that, okay, it's easy, it's simple, let's start doing the sales with more volumes. But of course, the devil lies in the details, and it was not that simple and easy. And we had to change everything. As an example, in direct sales, what you need to do is that you need to take care of your customers in sort of old-fashioned way, just making sure that everything is right and they know everything that they need, and they can do with your services everything that they want to do, and oversee that the chemistry is okay. But in the digital sales, when the volumes are higher, and even if they are not higher, you need to take care of the processes, the digital processes that the customers are utilizing. Starting a new customership or maintaining a customership, when it is more in digital channels, whether it's only one or multi-channel process, you have to focus a lot more into them, and you have to organize your sales team and your customer support team and customer care team around the digital sales processes. And for me, who had been doing direct sales for the last 20 years, it was surprisingly different from what I had experienced and what I knew well, to go towards the digital sales.
What was the most painful thing, and what was a nice surprise you didn't expect to happen?
I think the most painful thing that there was is changing the culture from the direct sales and only a few customers, taking care of a few customers, knowing them well, and their account managers or whatever they have there in the team. Changing that culture towards higher volumes, towards digital processes, and then managing the digital processes. But there, the biggest nice surprise that I think came from that is the metrics. You can measure almost everything there, every action that you do in your sales team, every transaction the customer has with your software. You can even develop different automatic processes. If a customer does something in their software, you can start a process, say that automatic process that takes care of that. asking what they could do better, or taking care that they can solve whatever they had been doing there. So the most painful, in summary, is taking care of the people, the change, the culture, and the most nice surprise is how measurable everything in the digital world is.
Before we went on live, we also discussed about this, and you mentioned that it's simple, but it's not really actually simple. So can you remind me and tell the audience what was the simple part and what was the complex part?
Well, the simple part was to announce that now we go from direct sales to more digital sales mode. But the difficulties became there when we had to decide about the details, how to organize everything, how to manage the daily actions, how to create the reporting, how to set up the goals, the sales goals, the contacting goals, objectives towards the customer success. I think it's always about that. You can conceptually you can announce things easily, but when it comes to the detail, even with this at least conceptually simple thing going from direct sales towards the digital sales, the amount of details is surprisingly big, and you have to do things systematically. We started the change process in maybe February last year, and we ended up doing many things better by end of August, but in September, or maybe it was October, we decided that we will start cooperating systematically with a company who does nothing but digital sales and digital marketing, and we have learned how to do things systematically. Everything that you do, you need to A/B test it, which one is better, and don't use your emotions, use the data to always go with the better one, and always have something for the A/B testing process. And this company whom we have worked with is called Digital Boost 360. There's the founder is called Mika Heikinheimo, who is a serial entrepreneur, and his personality is sort of cut the bullshit and do the work, execute it immediately type of personality, and it's very systemic. You have to do small steps, you have to focus on the smallest details, but do it always. Do something every day. And even if the step is very short or a baby step, if you do it for 6 months, if you do it for several years, you end up into a successful business eventually. And that's what we've been practicing now a bit more than 1 year. And now we see the results. We even have contacts from companies and organizations that we have not even heard of. People read our newsletters quite much. They go into our recently renewed website and they read the blogs. They do things there that we hope them to do. They even reserve time from my or our salesperson's calendars to get a demo, and the volumes are slowly, from my opinion, but they are getting higher every month, and I believe it is only because now we're doing things systematically. We focus on the details, and we try to improve our digital sales methodology every day and every week.
What happens when we can fly again and travel and do basically, say, direct sales? Do you change anything?
That's a good question. I don't like to say that I will return back to direct sales or I will not do direct sales at all. I think that we will focus a lot on the digital sales and do it even better every week. Also in the future, we can most likely, if everything goes fine, we can start doing digital sales elsewhere from Finland, maybe end of this year or so, in 6 months or so, if everything goes fine. And my understanding is that it will not happen with the direct sales anymore. There will be, of course, there will be a need to meet people face to face in some occasions, but I don't yet know how I will structure the digital sales in the future for the international business. But I guess that it will be with the digital sales methodology that we now have, and the scaling, the volumes, even nowadays you can focus on some certain areas with your digital marketing efforts and sales efforts, and I believe that's definitely the only way, almost the only way to go for us in the future.
How do you see the role of communities in business nowadays? Is it a competitive advantage? I was just reading David Spink's new book called The Business of Belonging, which just came out a few weeks ago. And he talks about how to build businesses or how to build communities. And he sees a lot of similarities between them, that you have to treat your community as a business in a sense that it needs to be self-sustaining in order to thrive. You need resources and dedication. It's more like a startup when you're starting it. Similarity, a company when you start it, it's like a community. You have a mission, you have a purpose, and then you're rallying people around you, and then you start to build from there. And obviously need resources as well. It's not that much different, but when you already have a big company or you're already having ongoing business, you can still have a lot of these things and involve people. So what are your thoughts on this matter?
Utilizing online communities in the Finnish business climate is very poor. There are not many companies who have done it successfully and who know what to do with it. I would say that almost the only companies who do it well in Finland are some of the big consumer companies who just have so huge volumes that if they decide to start a community, there's always some 10 or 20% of their consumer customers who will join it, and of that amount, there's maybe 10 or 15% who are active there, and it is self-sustainable, as you mentioned. To build successful community, you need to act as a startup. It is definitely like that, but that is not the only perspective in the online communities. You might have an online community for, let's say, research and development purposes. And it is more like you tell about your new features and your new products, and people give their feedback, and you can do some testing, and you could do some development, and even some product innovation with your crowd or with your community. You could have more sales and marketing oriented online community where people get to see your latest fancy tingle-tangles, and maybe if they take part in that type of online community, they receive something as incentives to be sort of the first to purchase them. If you want to do it well, you need to. That's, by the way, something that we have built into our community methodology. You need to have the purpose and the mission. You need to know what you want to do with your online community, and then you need to organize your ideas, the themes in the community accordingly, and you need to have there people who in the beginning who create the content that is needed and who create the first probes and interactivity for the smaller group that's definitely in the beginning you have there in the community. And you need to have someone who is overseeing the online community from, let's say, startup entrepreneurs' perspective, trying to understand where are the trends, where are the most active discussions, how could I utilize them, where are the next opportunities, where I can go to, and how I can build on something that has been brought up by a community member, and how I can grab the idea and just utilize that for the purpose that I have and the mission that I have in the community. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why many online communities fail. They don't realize that they need to do their homework, so to speak, or the business plan for the online community in the beginning when they started.
You also been founding another company just recently, and you say that you paid a lot of attention to the values that is based on the proper values. Can you elaborate what you meant by that?
I had to go back to the design industry. I'm fascinated by the design industry. I'm not a designer myself, but I value great design and the designers and great products and designs who work for me and they look nice and they are easy to use and so forth. I had been in different industries for almost 10 years. Then I had an opportunity to start a new business with actually a friend of mine who was one of my first customers in Nokia about 20 years ago. In his personal life, he had an opportunity to do something new and he wanted to do something new. And then we ended up discussing about the new idea of ethically sustainable design company business model, and after some sessions we decided to found one by ourselves, and there are some principles that we would like to follow in this Alpha Design Partners company, and one of them is that we should never do anything that is not good for us and for the customer. And we have seen also design consultancies or agencies who come make a great sales pitch, execute the project, and once they have done the project, ended the project, they leave, and then the company, the customer, is left without any support, and they should start implementing the new designs, and it's not a rare thing that the new design is shining and polished, but it has some elements that are difficult, if not impossible, to implement into the product. That's one of the things. And then from the consultancy professionals or the designer's perspective, if they work in an agency, it's not really rewarding in a long term. If you do a project, you get excited, you get yourself and the team energized about doing yet another project, and then you do it with huge amount of energy, a couple of weeks or months, and then when everything is ready to be implemented from your perspective, you need and you start another project. And we decided to change that structure a bit, and it has worked well. We have already in these few months interest in both domestic and international customers, and we are doing not only the fine-tuning of visible user interface elements or the pixels perfect stuff, but we are also doing some more little bit more deep changes for our customers, maybe the service structure or the product structure, and we are helping them to do transformation towards more modern style of design operations and design teams management. It's very interesting. I believe that the learnings I took from Idean at the time, the experiences coming from solution space in Asia, we did also some design related stuff there. Then building my own software company business, they all somehow come together in this new Alpha Design Partners venture that we have. So it's interesting. It's really interesting.
What is your favorite word?
I guess that I have mentioned it many times here. It's probably for sure.
What is your least favorite word?
I don't like world class. I don't like that at all. I think it doesn't mean anything. World class doesn't mean anything, and for different reason, I don't like word honestly. Those are probably the two least favorite words.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
What turns me on? I think that the moments and eras of creating something new that solves a big problem that relates to many people.
What turns you off?
That's easy. It's twofold. The other one is the proofless negativism, and the other one is backstabbing.
What is your favorite curse word?
There are many. There are many. I'm heavy user of curse words. I use them in different occasions, in different tones. But I guess that some should I have only one?
Yeah, pick your most favorite one.
I guess that I use perkele a lot.
Can you tell what it means for the English-speaking audience?
It's the devil.
What sound or noise do you love?
At least something that I have now wanted to hear more is the team sports, indoor team sports noise. And the other one that I like more and more is the silence.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Speed camera flash. It doesn't probably make any sound into the car, but it is something that I hate as a concept, and it's terrible.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I've always enjoyed writing, and I've always enjoyed traveling and getting to know new people and new cultures. So I would say that it would be some type of nomad journalist. I don't know if there's a profession for that.
What profession would you not like to do?
A politician. Definitely not a politician. I've seen and I know some politicians and political organizations, and that is a game I would not like to be involved with. Probably if you listen to this interview from the beginning, you understand the reasons.
If you could be a co-founder of any startup in any era, which one would you choose?
That's not an easy answer. That's definitely not an easy one to answer. I don't know. I would like to be a startup of a company that would have and would preach and practice some kind of expertise of versatile thinking skills. It would probably go somewhere. An easy answer would be a religion, but I'm not a religious person, and I don't like them so much. So I wouldn't say a church, but something that would help people in developing their thinking skills.
Any final words for the audience?
I think that being an entrepreneur is one of the best things a person can do. At least as a style of living, it's exceptional to many others. You can experience the worst and the best parts of life during one day, and you can be part of them. And for me, it's really intriguing and fascinating.
Just a quick note before we go. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate all your feedback, comments, likes, retweets, posts, and suggestions for future episodes. Let me know if there's any particular topics you would like me to cover, or who would you like to hear in the show. I'm also thinking of doing live discussions on Clubhouse. What do you think? I'm Petri at Clubhouse. The link is also in my social media profiles or in my website petrikander.com, first name, last name.com. That's all for today. Thanks for listening. Until next time.